the only growth there is ego elimination. Die until the little self, and then the infinite self is there. The infinite self is always there. There's never a time when you are not a full master. That's perfection, that's eternal, that can never be changed. But your point of view, your identity with it, you can change, because being infinite, you have no limitations, and therefore you can assume limitation. But it's only an assumption. It's only an apparency. It's not real. So we should die to the little self, the ego. When we eliminate that, this infinite being that we are becomes self-obvious. It's there all the time, just covered over by concepts of limitation, which are only ego concepts. I say never forget God. Always keep in the background, if not the feeling of God, the question, who am I? Or always keep in the background, I am not the doer. It's the body that's doing this. I am the witness. Be the witness. And in that way, growth goes on all the time, no matter what one is doing at work. There is always room to keep our mind on God, to keep our mind on the path, to keep our mind on a particular method. And this should be done if we expect to get out of the mess we got ourselves into. It requires full time if we expect to get realization. Because of what I said before, we have tons and tons and tons of effort put into wrong thinking. Now that we're in the right direction, it's going to take that much effort to undo it. Except if we recognize that being infinite beings, we do have the willpower, and we could will instant realization if we would just do it. How long does it take an infinite being to know that he is infinite? And each one of us, being infinite, could do it in an instant if we would but apply our full willpower. But our will is not that strong in that direction. Our will still says we are bodies, minds, and need this and need that and want this and want that. But that doesn't take away the fact that realization can be instantaneous the moment we do it. I am that I am. Thou art that. So the real grace is not external, but internal. The real grace is always there. You will never ever stop trying to return to this unlimited joy with no sorrow, because that is the natural state of the self. And that is the grace operating all the time. You're always being pushed towards seeking happiness, which is seeking the self. So the grace is operating every moment. But if we expect someone other than us to do it for us, it will never happen. But I believe it's obvious when you look at masters with people around them. People around them are not being given instantaneous realization, are they? Not because the master doesn't want it, because we have to do it. The only thing the teacher does is point the direction that we must take. And each one must do it for himself or herself. Now, in a sense, it's good to surrender to a master, to God. But what is surrender? Surrendering is saying, thy will, but not my will. Not my little ego will, but the overall divine will. And if you surrendered your ego, from that moment on, everything would be perfect. But most of us who think we are surrendering are doing it very conditionally, just a little bit at a time. And it must be complete to be effective. If it's just a little, that's all the benefit we receive, is just a little. So divine grace is always operating. It's the self of you wanting you to let go of the ego concepts of limitation. And it drives you toward the self in the direction of seeking happiness. Someday you'll see the only joy there is of the self expressing more or less, or shining forth more or less. We uncover it a bit more and we feel happier. So every time you're seeking happiness, that's grace in operation. So the grace is always there. But no one will do it for you but you, because you are that. It's necessary to take full responsibility for everything that happens to us. If we want realization. God himself cannot give us realization. If he could, we would all have it. And the reason why he can't is because we are that God that we are seeking. It's nothing external to us, because God is right within us, closer than flesh. And since we are that God, we are the ones who do it.